Hello, my sweets. Welcome back. Today we'll be making some waakye stew, and I begin by parboiling my cow foot. So after parboiling, I'm over here rinsing it beautifully so that it'll be easy for us to put everything together. At times, what I do is to parboil my cow foot immediately I get it and then keep it in my freezer. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead to blend together some onions, ginger, habanero pepper, garlic, and we'll be adding that to our meat and cow foot. I hope everyone is doing beautifully well. I am doing just fine. Now to a pot, go ahead and add in your choice of meat. I got this beautiful cut from the butcher, so it has the skin on it. So that will add some spice blend cubes and then the blended ingredients. I like to blend the ingredients if I have time to bring additional flavor to the meat. I added in some all-purpose seasoning and also salt to taste. Please feel free to use any seasoning of your choice. Stir everything together, cover it up and allow it cook in its own juices. This will allow the meat to taste super delicious. And we are back. Once the meat came to a boil, I allowed it boil for about 10 minutes in its own juices, and I just added in our cow foot and one bay leaf. I'll stir everything together and allow it continue cooking until it is at my preferred tenderness. Now, you don't want this to be totally tender because remember, once you add it to your stew, it is going to continue to cook. And also when you fry it, it'll cook a little bit while browning. I added a bit more water because I need the stock and covered it and allowed it cook for an additional 10 minutes. And at this point, I'm adding in my Wele because the Wele is not tough at all. Now, if your Wele is tough, add it in at the same time you add your parboiled cow foot, okay? But my Wele is already soft and I'm going to turn the fire off in about 5 minutes, so I add the Wele so it can absorb some flavors. Once we come back, our meat and Wele and everything is at the point where I want it to be. So I'm going to separate the meat from the stock and then I'll strain it to get the thicker part of the stock separately, and I'll transfer that into my blender jar. Okay, this will be added flavor to our waakye stew. At this point, we'll be frying our meat, and I'm not frying it to be hard. I just want to infuse this meat with some onion flavor while frying. So just a few minutes to brown it, and I added of course some onions into the oil to fry it beautifully golden like this. We'll get out our meat and set aside. We will not be frying our Wele or cow foot, and please do not get rid of the fried onions because it is also going to add more flavor to our stew. At this point, I sprinkled some flour into our oil and we'll be frying some fish. Yes, we're frying some red snapper because waakye stew have to have everything. At this point, I added some ginger, habanero pepper, onion, and garlic to our stock and also the fried onions, and I'll blend everything together beautifully and set it aside. Today's special tools goes to Reina Sapong and Jane Amondi from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for always watching and engaging in my videos. Back to check on our fish. We'll flip it over so the other side would fry beautifully as well. If you were wondering why I sprinkled flour into the oil, that is to prevent the fish from sticking together, okay? And at this point it is beautifully golden, so we'll get it out onto a paper towel lined tray and set it aside until we want to use it. With the fish, you can add it to your stew or not. It works either way. Now that we have everything prepped, let's make our stew. So I added some chopped onions to the oil that we used to fry our fish and meat, and I allowed it fry for about 5 minutes. I then added in some of my homemade tomato paste, gave it a good stir, and will allow it fry for an additional 5 minutes or until our tomato paste separates like this. Yes, our oil is quite foamy, but it'll be okay. At this point, I added in our blended ingredients, and we're going to stir everything in beautifully, and we'll allow everything to continue frying for an additional 8 to 10 minutes. We are back. We'll add in some of our homemade tomato sauce, rinse out the bowl, add that water, give it a good stir, and because everything is pretty much cooked, our stew will be ready in no time. I added some shrimp powder for extra flavor. If you're allergic, omit that, okay? And I allowed it to fry until oil began to settle on top of it beautifully, and then I went ahead to add in our stock, which is packed with flavor. So at this point, I still have not seasoned my stew because the stock will determine how much seasoning I'll add. So after tasting, it's almost done. It needed just a little bit of our all-purpose seasoning or any seasoning of your choice and our homemade spice mix to bring out that delicious flavor that I so love. And at this point, we add in all the protein that is fully cooked, so we'll just stir everything together and allow it come back to a boil and then simmer for about 5 minutes, and our Waakye stew is ready. Just look at it. Waakye stew, because that's what the Waakye sellers use, but they also sell rice, so you can enjoy this with rice, waakye, gari, komi, benyeli. Oh, yum. And all that is left is for us to serve and enjoy. The recipe for this delicious waakye is coming up next, so look out for it. If you've enjoyed me until now, I do want to thank you so very much. Why not let me know where you're watching from, and I'll give you a special too in our next recipe. Until I see you in the next one, stay safe, keep loving each other, and remember that the love of God and family is life's greatest blessing. And guys, ke onamini uchemi sweet mahabotu. Bye, y'all. Sending money any other way? Tap Tap Send is the way to go. Download it today and use our short code SWEETTEAM to get a $15 bonus when you send your first 50. So the person you're sending it to gets to get an extra $15 on us.